So today we're going to be looking at CodeWars, and this is a fairly easy question, but my purpose was to really demonstrate sort of the interface. So there is this thing called kata, and what you can do here is if you click this, that's sort of where you access your problems or your potential problems, which you can try to solve. Now I'm solving this question called sum of positive. Now, you get the instructions on what seems to be the left-hand side, and you're given an example, and then you're given what that should do with these numbers in the array, because this is actually an array question. And let's see here. So this is sort of your IDE, your web IDE, so to speak, and you can view solutions. There's also discussions. You can skip the problem. You can test it so that it runs here, and then you're given past solutions. So the question is, you get an array of numbers. You want to return the sum of all the positive ones. So if there is nothing to sum, then the sum will just default to 0. So I guess I'll go over two solutions that I know of, or just solutions that I intuitively think makes sense. The first solution would be to actually have a sum here, and then to have a for loop. And since our arrays actually are or ARR, I'm going to do I must be less than ARR.length, and we'll increment by 1 each time. So when we're in here, we'll just say that the sum is equal to the sum plus ARR of I, and of course I increments each time the for loop executes. And we'll just return sum. Now, I think we only wanted to return positive numbers, so we'll only add to the accumulator pattern for sum if, of course, ARR sub I is greater than 0. So only under that circumstance will we sort of add that particular element to our accumulator. And I think after it's all said and done, I think it's safe to say that this should run. So it seems like we forgot to add a brace there. Now, another thought is, how can we perhaps make this a little more efficient? And I would say that we could have a sum variable just like we had last time, and we can just use we could use an enhanced for loop. So the enhanced for loop, you put the variable here and then the array name here. And of course, if I is greater than 0, then we can say that the sum is equal to the sum plus I. But what we can do instead is we can use the shorthand for the accumulator pattern. Just do this instead. And then, of course, after it's all said and done, we can just return sum. And of course, that works too. So if you go to view solutions here, there's a lot of people who have different solutions. And you can just kind of go through them, see what people did. So you can see here that they sort of took the same route that we did. And of course, you don't have to name your variable I. You could name it number. I think it would make sense to name it I in the context when you're actually referencing the index to access the element, which in a sense you're doing here, but just it's not as visually apparent as it would be. This is sort of the longer version of the problem.